Okay, so right now we're going to replace the driver's side motor mount on a Mitsubishi Galant. This one's a 1999. The driver's side motor mount is actually underneath the battery. You can see it tucked down in there. The two little holes are the same two little holes that are right here. Your battery connection might be a little bit different than mine. I just unscrewed these two little wing nuts right here, and then the whole contraption just lifts up and away from the battery. Disconnected the battery terminals with a 10mm bolt. Here in the little ledge for the battery, there are 2 bolts here and then 2 bolts down here. All of those are 12mm, and then there's 2 10mm bolts right here on this little wire bracket thing, and that takes off the little shelf for the battery bracket. Alright, so this little guy is bolted in directly on top of that bolt right there. 17mm, just took it right off, and then I have my, on each of the 4 bolts down there, one here, one there, and then one underneath in that little slot. They are 17mm, and so I just have my breaker bar right there with the little extension piece, 17mm attachment, and I'm just breaking each of these loose. Alright, so I took out the air filter box, and basically it's just a bunch of those little 10mm bolts just are sitting around the outside. And then unplug this as well just by pressing that down and pulling it out. Little 10mm screw right here as well. And then that'll give me more access to work on my motor mount underneath all these cables. These things are in the absolute worst position possible. So if you look at the new motor mount, there's a hole through the center of it. On this motor mount, there's a 17mm bolt that sits right here going through the motor mount, and there's a 17mm nut on this end that I have attached 2 wrenches to, 2 ratchets. One's on this end, one's on this end, and so as I turn this one, the other one's holding it still, holding the nut still, so that this will ratchet off. If I didn't have both wrenches, it would just turn and turn and turn and never come off. And I would do this, loosen up the center bolt before you take off all 4 of the base bolts. That way this doesn't shake around when you're undoing it. So in order to have enough room to get the engine, to get that transmission mount away from the engine, you have to take off this huge bar underneath the engine. So these 2 bolts are 18mm, and these are the 2 bolts along on the back side of the bar, this one and this one, that need to be taken off. And then once you take this bar off, that'll let you lower the engine enough to give enough space between the engine and the frame to get that motor mount out. And now there's enough room for me to lift this up and out. So you can see the inside of there is just all torn up, and that's what's causing the vibrations in the car. Anyway, keep those little pads because you're going to install them on the next one as well. And with a little persuasion, I got the new mount on the old bolts that are sticking up, and now I'm going to lift the engine back up so that it'll fit back in the holes that it needs to. And with a little more persuasion, I got the bolt in through that eye of the mount, and it's sticking through right over here. Basically I just took it in there and kind of wedged it down so that it would line up the other end of the bolt with the hole on this side. And then I have this little cat's paw right here that I could use to kind of pry it up, just metal on metal, and kind of get the hole aligned just a little bit. Just make sure you don't hit the rubber or else it'll break the mount again. Alright, so everything's back in place. There's the 2 screws on the front of the bar, the 2 bolts on the front of the bar, 2 bolts on the back of the bar. We have the engine mount in place underneath the battery. Battery's back on, battery's tied down. Box is in place. Hoses are screwed down, wires back together. That's how you change the engine mount in a Mitsubishi Galant. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to like if this video helped you, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.